show, and it is so good to have you back again. I was checking out some of your comments, the communities that are building, the way you guys like enter in with each other on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and support each other. And it's really, really cool. So happy to be with you again. Now, as those regular listeners or viewers, wherever you're watching or listening to this, no, this is a call in program. So if you're new, you can call in, or if you're old, you can call in, or if you've been watching a long time and you're young, you can call in. Okay, figure out that progression. But I give you a number. All right, 844-940-2774. 844-940-2774. I'm going to give it one more time. 844-940-2774 is the number to call in and get on the show. Because our callers kind of make the program, right? They give us all the stuff we talk about. Unless my dog would like to do that. I always apologize for this because I'm in a one-man lockdown here studio. Um, and Tori is out of town. So it's the Finn and me, and she has decided that something is intruding upon her airspace and she's letting the authorities know. Okay, but she'll shut up in a second. Well, what's going on, guys? I want to hear from you. 844-940-2774. But in the meantime, let's go to one of our email questions from one of our boundaries.me subscribers who mail in their questions. And if you're not a boundaries.me subscriber, just go to that website, boundaries.me, put in your name, and you will find everything there of how to find out all the stuff that's there for you, boundaries.me. Okay. Here's a question. I think that one of the reasons we chose this question for today is that there is certainly the issue that uh, I'm going to call her anonymous has with her husband, but it may not be exactly like this with your spouse or significant other or close relationship. It could be anybody. Um, it may not be exactly like this context, but there's a dynamic in here that I believe at least is a Finley. Finley, come on. Sorry, guys. There's literally nothing I can do about this for the moment. Um, but a dynamic in the husband's head, I would imagine, without knowing him, that a lot of people can identify with. And I want to ask some of you, husbands or wives or male or female, I want you to try to identify here, not with the wife who's asking the question, but I want you to identify with the husband. Because, okay, if the dynamic in his head is the one that I think it is, then you don't want that in your head. Okay. You don't want this in your head. It will interfere and get in the way of, and basically you can almost say at least destroy interactions, if not destroy relationships. Okay, so that's enough of a trailer. Let's hop into it. Communication with my spouse is non-existent. Okay, first of all, you might want to look at your kind of all or nothing statements here. It's probably not true that it's non-existent. It's probably not at the level sometimes that it needs to be. Okay, communication with my spouse is non-existent because he says I'm always arguing when I'm simply stating my different opinion. How do I change this dynamic? Great question. Great question. And it is a very, very common problem. So I mentioned that um, there's a dynamic here, and it's there's something going on in his head. If it's as you have stated, and you're not arguing, whatever arguing means, you have different opinion, right? That that the way that humans are designed, I want all of us to think about this little ideal right now, that we're supposed to be, we talk about boundaries, we're supposed to be separate people, okay? Separate people, separate circles, and connected. Now, what's in your circle, the treasures of your heart and your mind, your soul, your strength, like your thoughts and your opinions and your desires and your talents, all those things that live inside of you, live on your property and hers live on her property. Now, the way we have relationship is we open up the door and we invite each other in basically to kind of share our different thoughts and opinions and feelings and this, that, and the other. And when we do not perceive that as adversarial, okay, then we perceive it as intimacy. See, I'm getting to know you, getting to know you. So if I say, you know, let's just take a common one right now. If I say, oh, I think we ought to open everything up in COVID because, a lot of people are, they're depressed and losing their jobs and companies are closing and people can't go to school and kids are suffering and it's putting them behind and people are, entire businesses lost and we got to open this thing back up. Okay. And then somebody else says, well, you care more about business and money than you do lives, and you don't care about people, and we've got to lock this thing down because people are dying. Okay, so everybody's got, their thoughts. All right. So in a good relationship, these are two different perspectives, right? And there's reasons why each person is going to hold that perspective. They might not even be, and that one, I think there are good reasons for both perspectives because both perspectives are true. People are dying and we're suffering by, in other ways. So, but sometimes there are different perspectives that aren't even true. I mean, it's not even true. I'll give you an example. I mean, I've had to talk people off a ledge before when their perspective was the little green men on the ledge were telling them to jump. Okay, that was their perspective. It's not true in external reality, but it's true for them. And there's a reason that they hold that opinion. There's a lot of reasons that can get somebody to that place, but there's a reason. So if I'm going to help get them off the ledge, or we're going to really get to know each other, I can't take that opinion as adversarial, right? As a persecutor of me. And there are a lot of times when people will experience their head is glued together that if you are not, and I'm going to just use some words here, if you're not for my opinion or for me, then you are against me. And if you're against me, then I'm against you. So I see you as arguing as opposed to helping me get to know you, helping me get to know you. I want to understand why you look at it that way for a reason. I want to understand that and see that builds relationship. But some people, in some of the best developmental paradigms that you see in the history of psychology, they talk about a fulcrum that somebody's kind of on this side of immaturity and they get to this side of immaturity. And this side is that they tend to look at things as for and against. So if you're not for me, you're against me, as opposed to looking at things as being with and different would be another way to say it. So let's all look at our heads. Do we perceive different as adversarial? That's not good. How are you going to ever love somebody and get to a better place if just because they differ with you, they're bad? That's one of the things we see in the political discourse today. Anybody that is different than my opinion is bad. They're not just different, they're bad. They're evil. They're horrible. And all these words because they're different. And most of the times, those differences actually are because people care about the same outcome. They both care about the same issue. They just have different opinions of how to get there. So I want all of us to begin to look at our relationships. When somebody comes at us with something, notice that word at us. It's how you feel it. It's not at you, but in this instance, it's just an opinion. Then I want you to hit pause and I want you to ask yourself, am I getting activated by that? See, because if we're not in a battle, there's no reason for activation. If we're in an intimate conversation, there's actually opposite of activation against it. There's an unfolding and an opening and a receiving. So here's what I would, you said you want to change the dynamic. I would go to your husband and maybe try this. Say, honey, I married you and I fell in love with you for so many reasons. But one of them is I really like to hear what you think. And I really like to hear your perspective on things. And I think you got a lot of good opinions and brains and all that. And that's part of why I love you. I would hope that you feel the same way about me and you really want to know what my opinions and feelings and things are. I mean, could we both agree that that's the kind of relationship that we want? We really want to understand each other. And if we can start there, then maybe we can understand that, if you say you think vanilla is good and we ought to do the vanilla, and I have a different perspective and I say, I kind of think of chocolate, we ought to do chocolate here. How can we kind of make a safe place and a rule where when we have differences of opinion, that could be a signal for us to ask the next question to each other and say, tell me more. I don't really understand that. Tell me why you think that way or why you feel that way. And what if we tried this? What if we started to use our differences as an invitation to get to know each other better instead of experiencing it as adversarial or a put down? Okay. Just try that. But don't do it in the moment when you're in the argument. Do it, say, I want to talk to you about something. Don't worry, you're not, I'm not mad. I just want to talk to you about something and see if that helps. If it doesn't, it could be some more significant things going on in his head. And this is the kind of thing where a good marriage counselor can be the dialysis machine that detoxifies the stuff that's going on between you and can actually help that. Okay. Hope that is helpful to you. It's really fascinating, guys. It is really, really fascinating that if you just look at fruitful people, successful people that have good relationships, the best relationships, they do not react when people disagree with them. They don't react when people criticize them. They're just very non reactive, they're responsive. So they respond. So I just want you to look at anything that you could call reactive in yourself. Basically, in the moment that you are reacting, you might as well picture yourself ice skating. That's not what I was going to say. Picture yourself rollerblading across a frozen pond. Right? That's about how much control you have of the outcome anytime you are reacting. You're out of control. You're literally out of control when you're reacting. Take a breath, calm down, name your feelings, think about them, say, what would be the best way to respond here? And that breaks up a lot of times a dynamic like this. Okay, let me give you the number 844-940-2774. 844-940-2774 is the number to get on the program. We have a line open right now. If you've never called in, this is your moment to do this. Oh my gosh, I wish you guys could see what I see. I should get the phone and walk you back there. So Finley, my Doberman puppy, who's quite big now, she's 7 months old and about 75 pounds. And they say she's got quite a bit more to go. She has decided that she is going to stand on the top of the world. And again, she's climbed up on the top of the furniture on her perch, and now she's ruling the universe. So I don't know what she's barking at. But as I said earlier, I'm here by myself, so there's nothing I can do. Okay, hey, Finn. That worked. Carrie, welcome to the program. I hope you can hear me.
Hi, I can hear you.
You got any tips for me? I haven't started the off leash training, and I haven't worked on quiet to interrupt barking. So we're kind of at Finley's mercy here for a second. So tell me how I can help you.
That is okay. Hey, Dr. Cloud, I just want to say, first of all, that I heard about you through hearing you on a Moody Radio interview where you were talking about your book, Necessary Endings, about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was so impactful in kind of the way over the last 10 years through my life, through my marriage, going to 27 years. And I just, that book was eye-opening about, wishful thinking, hopeful thinking, those roads of how we get stuck in those ruts.
Yeah, let me kind of interrupt you for a second to give the listeners who haven't read the book a little perspective. If you think about the title, Necessary Endings, sometimes it's necessary for something to end if we're going to, move on in any certain way. But making that decision on when something really should end and when we should continue to have hope is what Carrie's referring to. And there's a lot of people keep extending hope and spending time and energy to try to make something work when it's really not hope at all. It's kind of a wish, because hope really has objective reasons to it. So that's kind of what she's referring to.
It was an excellent book, and just helped me to kind of think. I was about 15 years into my marriage at that point. My husband was yet to be diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And about that time, he was being evaluated and was not taking medication. So our world, with my kids, revolved with a lot of like explosive anger, control, irrational, it was just a really difficult time. Once he had that diagnosis but would not continue to take his medication, that book helped me to create that line. Like, I kept wishing he would get better, and I wish we could find the answer. But now we had.
Let me ask a question about that. When he wasn't taking his medication, did his doctors think that not taking the medication was part of the kind of like sort of the expression of the illness, or did they think that was more of a character issue?
I guess I'm not sure. Those first 15 years, he refused to believe that there was a problem. And then finally, one doctor said, hey, do you notice that you go through this? Kind of started to describe it. But those behaviors would flare for sure when he was not taking it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not answering your question correctly. I apologize.
Well, you're not, but it's an important diagnostic question that a lot of times you have to think about, with bipolar people, what you're dealing with. But anyway, so what's the question? So he was going through all this.
So we were going through all that, and then that allowed me to draw a line in the sand and say, like 10 years ago, if you're not taking your medication, you're not going to a counselor to get support to work through some of these issues. Anyway, I said, we can't live together anymore. And we separated, like the kids and I left.
My earpiece went out a little bit. You said, if you're not taking your medication, not going to counseling, we can't live together?
Yeah, because it was such an explosive setting to be in with my kids. And so we left, and we were separated for about 5 months.
Protect your child.
Yep. So we did that. We drew that line. And in the time since that time, we're now into 27 years of marriage, off and on. He's pretty consistently taking medication, but not counseling and not kind of getting to the root of some things. And so these behaviors, controlling behaviors and irrational anger, and some of these things just continue to pop up.
Right.
And
when he's not on his meds, he's bipolar.
Yep.
So what's the question?
Yep. So the question is,
what is the question?
I've been told the question is that I'm wondering at what point does I'm a Christian. I've been told, that this is not a reason for divorce, but where is this line that you're able to cross into saying, okay, I've tried to define these boundaries for what I need to be healthy and how to support him, with that idea of divorce. I'm really struggling with that right now.
Yeah. Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Guys, I really apologize for this. I don't know if people are coming to me or by myself. I don't know if people are coming to the house and I'm not seeing it and she's alerting us and everyone, but why don't we go mobile here for a second? We can do this, right? Why can't we do this?
Absolutely.
So let's walk in there and let's find out. This is like what just happened. This is sort of like the roving reporter. I'm going to find out what the heck is going on with my crazy dog. If I can grab the phone here. Let me see. This is like, I don't know if this show will be a keeper. This may not live on the web forever.
This is great.
What's happening down here? Thank you, Abby. Well, it doesn't look like anybody's at the door. It looks like she is just maybe somebody next door across the fence. So, guys, this is real live radio here, right? Because we don't know how we're going to get through this. But I'm going to tell Finley just to hang out with me and see if that helps. Okay, so back to the divorce question. Your question about it is when does it cross a line?
Like when is that line crossed and I say enough?
Yeah, let me ask you this: do you said as long as you're not doing this, as long as you're not taking your medicine, and as long as you're not working on issues, we have to stay separated. Now, did you give that up, or have you been separated all this time?
No, we were separated for about 5 months, and then he got more into a routine. He had a mentor through church. He was seeing the pastor.
And was his behavior changing? Was his behavior changing?
There was some changing. I will say yes, there's some changing, and it was enough to give me hope that he was doing something different to show that maybe the results might be different.
So what happened?
It's just kind of been that sliding back into, I feel like he did enough to appease me.
Stop. Hold on a second. Now, when it started sliding back and he wasn't doing it, wasn't going and staying on the program, then did you tell him he had to move out?
We went to counseling. He has refused to move out in our conversations. It's always been me I would need to be the one to go.
Okay, well, because of ask a different way. Ask a different way. When the behavior started again, did you keep the boundary and did you move out? Did y'all separate?
We did not again.
Okay, you did not. Is that what you said?
No, we did not.
So here's just my initial thing on it. Sometimes people it's either the course of the illness or whatever, but the boundary might be one of the biggest keys that they have, to getting in control. And when you did do the boundary, he did it. And then, like often happens, there was some kind of relapse. But I would, one of the things that sounds like a really good boundary to me, because I've seen this. If somebody's not taking control of their illness and it's affecting you and the kids, then they're the ones that have to be quarantined, right? Or you have to quarantine yourself away from them. So I really, really, that's a very, very powerful thing. I would talk to your counselor and his doctor, whoever's advising you on this, because I don't know what the danger issues are. But if that's not an advisable strategy that you can always do, because if that were kept, there's reason to believe, based on what you said, that that might be effective. Now, the divorce question, is your question, do you divorce somebody because they're bipolar? Is that?
No, and it's not because he's bipolar. It's just that idea of, I feel like he does enough to kind of keep the peace, or he'll smooth things over a little bit. For me, because that has not been a consistent, he only does it when I hold his feet to the fire, and how is that a marriage relationship when it's only because of me saying, I've had it, this is enough. If this doesn't happen, this is what's going to have to happen. And how much of that is really a marriage? And is it okay to say, this cycle just keeps repeating and I'm not okay with it, and I'm ready to be done.
It's certainly okay to say the cycle keeps repeating and I'm not going to continue to do it. That's what I was mentioning a moment ago, that I'm,
okay.
Because you haven't seen a cycle yet of firm limits, misbehavior, firm limits again, misbehavior, firm limits again. So that would be, and then you go to firmer limits, right? So,
okay.
So that's one thing. I think you have a different question. Okay. I don't think the question is, is this a marriage? I understand the spirit behind it. I understand, because no, it's not the way marriage ought to be. I mean, that's an easy question, right? No, this is not the way marriage ought to be. Your question is, it sounds like, how do you deal with certain things that you you feel like your faith may be asking you to do or not, right? Isn't that the bottom line? It's kind of like
Right.
it's a question that they put, and all of this comes from the question that they put before Jesus one day. He said, Moses said that you could divorce your wife, right, and give her a decree of divorce. And he said, well, he's Moses said that because your hearts were hard, and he was allowing it. He said, but that's not the original design. He said that's not the way it was from the beginning, that marriage was to be something that isn't, quote, put asunder, like you hear at every marriage ceremony. And so then he said what he said. Have you read the passages about why your pastor would
some of
disagree with this?
the big passages about about the infidelity and things like focusing on that part, right?
So in the context, what he said was, when somebody divorces, except for the reason for infidelity. So if somebody has an affair, then they have broken the marriage bond. And he said that was the exception clause. Okay. And then further in over in Corinthians, Paul talks about a certain kind of abandonment that has to do with faith. All right. Now,
okay.
That's what he said. So in the moment, the response was the disciples standing there going, "Are you kidding me?" I'm paraphrasing. They go, seriously, if that's how serious this marriage thing is, then who in the world would ever do it? And they literally responded to, "I'm not getting in a deal I can't get out of," right?
Mm-hmm.
There were, it was clear that they got the significance of what he said. And so then it's interesting. He comes back and he says, there's a couple of different contexts in the way the Gospels report it, but it's something like this: that not everyone can receive this statement. He said, some people are eunuchs. He said, some people give up, sexual expression. Some people give it up. Some people don't have it, you should say, because they're born that way. He said some are because the world makes them that way, maybe abuse, a bunch of other stuff. And he said some choose that life for the purposes of the kingdom of God. Okay, that's what he said. So he said some people, the people who can receive this strict thing, he says, basically not everybody can hang with what I'm telling you here, but they do it as an expression of their faith. So you have to, in my view, you have to checking on my pooch there. I think there's a lot that goes into this because uh, there are always there's always the highest laws that you got to figure out what's the highest law. Thou shalt not kill. Well, if a burglar is coming in or somebody's come in and and is about to attack my kids, when do you shoot in self-defense? So there's competing things that we're always trying to value. What's the most loving thing to do? So I can't answer that question for you specifically. I can tell you what the issues are. And I think that you've
Mhm.
got to look at them and say, you know, exactly what you said. When when does the law of love, when does grace, when does a lot of other things kind of come into here? Or when is it, like you said, that this is something that I would give up, you know, for my faith? And I think that's a question a lot of people end up grappling with, and um, everybody's got to solve it. Like you said, who can accept this and who can't? And I think that it would be really good to get a couple of pastors that you really really trust that have different views on this and do some reading. But the other thing is this: that doesn't ever mean that people have to sit there and take abuse. Somebody has a high view of marriage, and that I'm not going to divorce this person, but I'm not going to allow the kids to get hurt or me to get hurt or this, that, and the other. And sometimes I think also this is the competing laws. If children are involved and all this, that sometimes it's just not loving to to stay in a marriage. There's a higher law that sort of supersedes that in most people's thinking. So I really liked the limits that you had. Um, I would hope that that might could work. But anyway, in answer to your question, the best I can do is tell you what he said, and that you've got to go figure out what that means and is that for you or not. I can't make that decision.
Okay. Could I ask one other thing along those lines? When
It's fast. We've
when
been on
drawing
quite a
those,
while here, and I got to get to some people. What?
you bet.
Go ahead.
Okay. Just withdrawing those boundaries. When I did that before, part of the reason I didn't enforce it was because he threatened suicide and he ended up in in the hospital for a week. Um,
Hmm.
that is a huge responsibility weight to anticipate. What if he does go through
Yeah.
with that based on my
Well,
boundary?
this is what I was saying before about when I said, are there danger issues involved, and is his doctor involved in kind of coaching you? When somebody's got bipolar, it's really good. This is kind of dealt with as a team, right? With the family and significant other people
Perfect.
and the
Okay.
doctors and all that. And so I wouldn't want you carrying the burden of when can I say, I'm moving out, and if I do that, are you going to commit suicide? That's something that you've got to get the suicide risk assessed by the doctor, and then he or she could
Okay.
advise you. But you can't be held captive by suicidal threats. And when somebody's threatening suicide, sometimes they have to be involuntarily hospitalized, like he did, and actually that helped him, right? So to have the limit
Okay.
of going to a hospital sometimes is really helpful. Okay, thank you for
Thank you
your
so much for your
call.
time. I so appreciate
It's
it.
a
Thank
tough one.
you.
Okay, all righty. You know, that is a really, really tough question for people or who are serious about being followers of Jesus. There's a high view of marriage, and when you stand there and you make this covenant, say till death do us part, for sickness and wellness and poorness, riches and poverty, and all of that. And he said that was the original design. And then he said, when Moses came along and people were all screwed up and stuff was happening, and he said, all right, I'm gonna give you a pass here. And Jesus called everybody back to, yeah, he did that because of hardened hearts, and people wouldn't forget, what everything that hardened hearts means. And they said, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. And there's a call back to this ideal. Now, one of the things we know is that there's not like we're not living in a time without grace. I mean, God has grace and understanding and forgiveness. And if you've been divorced for some reason other than infidelity or abandonment, then that's don't let that be the scarlet A that you wear. God, there's grace for all of that. Everybody has a new start every day. That's the mercies of the Lord are new every morning, right? So this can't become, we know that this can't become a new law, right? But he is talking about the way it's designed. He said a lot of other things about, kind of like we're caught, Moses said an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. He said, but I'm calling you to a higher law. And then he said, not everybody can go there. Go read the passage in Matthew 19. He said, not everybody can accept this, but some can, and some people take that vow and others don't. So it's a very, very, very complex, deep topic and a tough one. Okay, let's go back to the phones. Sorry about all the interruptions with Finn. She's doing better now. I don't know what that was about. Heather, who's calling us from Florida. Heather, welcome to the program.
Yes. Hello?
There you are.
Hi.
Hi, Heather.
Hi. Hey, Dr. Cloud. Oh my goodness, so glad to actually talk to you. That's so cool. I'm like a total fangirl over here.
Well, thank you for calling.
Yeah, I love all your stuff. My question is, how do I be kind?
Heather,
how do I be kind and still?
Heather,
Yes.
Heather.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is it possible
Hello?
for you to not be? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is it possible for you to not be kind?
Not really. Well, I mean,
really.
I can be nice. I know how to be nice. I know how to be really nice all the time, but kind is a little bit more deep.
Well,
so
here's why I say this. Here's why I say this. Usually when people say, gosh, but I don't want to be mean, gosh, but I want to be kind, and they're concerned about that, generally,
right.
Those are the kindest people that are over concerned about being so kind that it's difficult for them to tell somebody a hard thing.
Exactly. That's
Is that you?
Yeah, that's totally me. Yeah, okay. I'm coming out of a 20-year marriage. We've been separated a couple of times throughout the 20 years, but there's no repairing our marriage at this time. Now it's just we can co-parent our children together, and that's as far as I can go with him, and he's really struggling with that. It was a really sad day, but it was just our 20th wedding anniversary was just last week, and he sent me a big bouquet of flowers. He's very romantic.
So he wants you back.
But oh yeah,
he wants you.
Yeah.
And so why are you splitting up? Is there any way to say in a sentence or two?
Yeah, there's some addiction issues and some verbal and emotional and probably psychological and spiritual abuse that's been happening. It's been a very destructive, mainly emotional and verbal relationship.
What is the addiction?
It's pot. He smokes pot every day, all the time. He drinks a little bit, but it's mainly. I'm not an anti, person, but I've watched what it's done to him. I've known him for 23 years, and I've watched what that particular what pot has done to him. It's kept him from getting good jobs.
Syndrome is a real thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's your question?
Yes. My question is, how do I still be kind to him? I mean, obviously, I care deeply still for him, but how do I give him the bad news that I'm filing for divorce and that there is no, there's hope for a future, but there's not hope for our marriage in the future. I just can't find the words. I can't
Okay, but you're clear on that. There's no way you want to try to work this out. There's no path.
No, I mean, I am,
Okay.
I'm really clear. Um, I, I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
Okay. You don't. Yeah.
have
No.
tried everything.
You don't have to justify it to me. I'm just saying.
mm,
I'm trying to clarify. Are you
yeah,
certain for whatever reason?
I'm done,
Okay.
done this
Well,
time.
then,
Yes, I'm done.
do you guys have a marriage counselor you've been seeing?
We've seen, we've had 4 different marriage counselors in 20 years. Um,
Do you
I'm
have
getting
one
individual
do you
counseling.
have one that you're seeing now?
No,
Do you
no.
have one that you saw, the last one you saw, that's current enough with both of you that you could walk in there and have a conversation with
Um, no, not current enough. I
them?
would say no. It's
Okay.
been
Because
probably a year
a
since
lot of
then.
times, well, would they still be really familiar with you and both of you have a good connection with this person? That's what I'm asking.
I do have a good connection with her. And yeah, she knows. I mean, we
Okay.
saw her for probably about 6 months. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna just throw this out there as a
Mhm.
suggestion.
Okay.
A lot of times, conversations like the one you're talking about um, are best done in the context with the marriage counselor that's been working with both of you.
Mm.
That way, it's not
Okay.
just you and him. There's somebody there to help him metabolize it, and somebody
Right.
it just stabilizes things. And you could say, um, you know what, I think we do need to have a conversation about
Mhm.
all of this. But I'd like for us to have it with, Dr. So and so. That's one option.
Right.
The other
Okay.
option is basically when you're saying, how can you be kind and do this? I think you probably
Mhm.
know how to be kind. What you're probably really asking is, how can I do this in a way that's not going to be devastating to him, right? Or not hurt him in some way,
Right.
or not.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you can do that. I mean, you can say it as
Right.
nicely as you can, but apparently this is something he really wants, and it's going to be devastating to him. And that's what's that's kind of what's going to happen whenever we give somebody uh, really bad news, for them, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
we can't have the wish to have something that hurts not hurt. So if you can get clear
Right.
inside of yourself that this is
Yeah.
going to be really, really hurtful, and then do it as lovingly as possible,
Right.
um, then that's the answer to the question.
Okay. That's really good. Yeah.
I
I
wish I
mean,
could give you a way to
uh,
not have this hurt.
I know. I wish I could. I wish it wouldn't hurt him for me to, because I mean, I obviously, I still care deeply for him. He's been, I've known him half my life. I've kind of made him the center of my world, even to a fault. Putting
Hmm.
him even before God sometimes, probably. But now I'm trying to figure out how do I, what's my world look like without him being in the center of it. So, um, yeah, that is good. That's a good idea. Maybe
Yeah,
to see if I can set up a something where
that
there could be someone else there that would.
that's usually the one I prefer, where people have to really make this decision and make it with help. Okay, got to talk to some other
Right.
people
Okay.
here, and
All right. Thank you so
good luck to you. Okay,
Thanks, Dr. Cloud. Pleasure. Thank
okay.
you. Bye.
Thanks for calling, Heather. Um,
Uh,
gosh, two similar situations. When do you when you make a decision to end a marriage, and it's clear, if we go back to the faith perspective, that there's guidelines for that. But I think it gets to another question in all the middle ground of all of this, because what we're really talking about is, when do you have hope and when do you not have hope? And this is what we're talking about out of my book, Necessary Endings. I have a whole section on, hope is not something that you shouldn't have to be a clairvoyant wizard to be ascertaining, are they really going to turn around or not? You shouldn't ever be in the position of thinking that you've got to be omniscient to make that call accurately. That's not how judgment calls are made. Judgment calls are made based on a preponderance of objective evidence. And so, is somebody going to change or not when they're telling you they want to change and they're telling you they're going to make it better and all of that? Telling you doesn't mean crap. I mean, that's just words. You've heard them all before. But there've got to be some objective reasons why you would choose to spend more time, more time and energy. Remember this phrase right out of the book, Necessary Endings. Hope spends time. See, time is like money. You have a finite amount of it, okay? And within a little pool called time, you invest something called energy, your life, your heart, your mind, and strength, soul and strength. Every moment of time, you're jumping in there with your energy, and that creates the life that we have. Everybody's got a certain number of moments. Everybody's got a certain amount of, of energy, their heart, mind, soul, and strength. That's basically what we have. Everything else can disappear tomorrow, but you'll always have the next minute, hour, day, month, year, decade. We don't know how much, but as long as we're breathing, we have time. And into that moment of time, what we have to invest is our heart, mind, soul, and strength to create whatever we're creating about life. So when you're dealing with somebody and you're saying, should I invest more time with this person? Should I invest more time in not firing them? Should I invest more time in trying to be friends with them? Should I invest more time in staying in a marriage with them? All of that. You're not clairvoyant. There's no way that you should have to read the tea leaves and figure this out. What you need is like a doctor makes a diagnostic decision based on a lab test. Well, there are lab tests to how you can know that, and it's not 100%, but it's pretty good, how you can know when there's objective reasons to spend more time. That's what I talk about in Necessary Endings. When there's certain things present, the chances of this working are real. The chances of this working are objective, and it makes sense to spend more time and energy and hope. But in the absence of certain things, then you're just wishing. So look for the objective reasons for there to be more hope. If you want to learn more about that, go to boundaries.me, and there's lots of stuff about it. 844-940-2774, 844-940-2774 is the way to get on the program. We've got some time left here. Let me go to Alice, who's calling us from Indiana. Alice, welcome to the program.
Dr. Cloud. Hi, Dr. Cloud.
Hi, Alice.
So glad that I get to finally talk to you. I'll just get right to the chase, okay?
Okay.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I was just listening to what you were explaining there, and I have been doing a lot of wishing for about 20 years. My daughter, when she got married, she just kind of cut me off and invested all of her energies in her new marriage and her in-laws and everything. Well, anyway, she has, after 20 years, has filed for divorce. It's final. And but during all these 20 years, I've had a really pretty friendly relationship with her husband. He's got his flaws, serious flaws, but anyway, he's always been respectful to me and always kind to me. And so I have talked to him at sport functions because I have two grandsons, and the younger one plays soccer. And I have asked for his help this summer to put up a ping pong table so the boys and I could play ping pong. And he did do that. He's always said if you need anything.
How old are the grandchildren? How old are the grandchildren?
Okay, one's 18 and one's 11, just turned 11.
Okay.
And we
So
have a
we're
wonderful
running out of time here.
relationship.
What's the question? You got a
Okay.
great relationship
Oh
with
my,
the kids, and you got a great relationship
yes,
with the son-in-law that she's divorcing. So,
yes,
and she
yes.
hasn't talked to you
My,
for 20 years?
oh, no. We have talked and everything. We just don't have a very good connection. And so she told me just the other day that if I continued to have anything to do with her ex-husband, that she would not want anything more to do with me, and that she would not communicate with me. And so my question is, do I just stop being friendly to my ex-son-in-law, or, to make her happy, or how do I handle
Well,
it?
is she coming to you saying, Mom, we've had some difficulties and I'd like to have a better relationship and I'd like to work on that, and here's what I've done wrong and I'm sorry for that, and kind of like gone into this in a reasonable way with you trying to reconcile?
Oh, no, none of that.
Well, then
None of
I
that. The
just,
only way,
as a
okay.
general principle, like ultimatums and demands,
Hmm.
that's not a relationship. And I don't mean ultimatums
No,
like when we set a boundary, if you don't stop heroin, you got to move out. But I'm talking about this kind of, for and against, and, blah, blah, blah.
right,
If
right,
there is a way in which I understand what she's saying, that, I'm divorcing him, I got to move on with my life. But if you're, BFF with him and he's always, and it gets murky. I get that. But what we're talking about here in the context you gave it was, this is part of your grandmothering, that you have to interact with him, right? You guys aren't going out to the
right.
movies together, just you
Oh,
and
heavens,
son-in-law.
no.
So
Right.
this is part of grandmothering. And if you're going to keep the relationship, especially with the younger one, then it's going to probably somehow involve, going through him. And I would just tell her, you know what, I know that you're separating, you're divorcing him. You're still going to have to co-parent with him though, and you're going to have to
Hmm.
talk to him. And so I've got to kind of co-grandparent sometimes. And so I won't not ever be talking to him, and I'm not going to be mean to him.
Right,
And
right.
if,
I don't want
if
to do that at all.
if that means that you don't want to talk to me, I wish you wouldn't make that decision. There's no reason for it. But that sounds a
Right.
little extreme. That's just my opinion. It sounds a little extreme. It sounds like, especially given the last 20 years, if she's kind of been whatever, I would rather you
Distant.
tell her.
Yeah. Very distant.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'd rather you tell her, look, hey kiddo, come on, I'm your mother. And
Right.
you're my daughter, and it would probably be a good thing if we had a better relationship than we do. So why don't we sit down and try to understand each other and find out, what went wrong
Right.
and
Right.
how
I'd
can we
love
fix
that.
it? So
I would
you can
love that.
propose it. You can propose that. That's in your
Okay.
control. And you could also say, and if we can't, if we can't do it by ourselves, let's go sit down with a counselor. I'm willing to try to understand if there's some way I've hurt you or bothered you or whatever. I just want this to work out. So let's go talk to somebody. Okay, you might
Yeah,
try that.
because I have no idea. I have no idea what's gone wrong.
Tell her
I
that.
gave and
Tell
gave,
her that.
and
And
yeah.
I really want to learn. Okay, I got to run. We're up against the clock
Okay.
here.
Okay.
But thank you for your
Thank
call,
you. I just
Alice.
appreciate.
Whoops, we lost her there. Thank you, Alice. If you can still hear me, I appreciate your call too. We have run out of time, guys. I apologize for the chaos around here, but that's part of one person studio at home by myself with this 7-month-old. I wish you guys could get to know Finley. She is. I wonder. Now she's come in and she has. Let's see if you can see her. I can't tell where the. Hey, Albie, is Finley on the camera there? Can we see?
She looks good. Hey, dog.
Hey, girl. So now she's come in and decided to join us. So that's good. So anyway, I apologize for that, guys. Usually Tori's here and, she can kind of monitor that. But the COVID lockdown thing, here we are, just the two of us. Couple announcements. Okay. If you're not a boundaries.me subscriber, go sign up. We're hearing more and more from so many people every day about what's happening there. So it doesn't cost anything to give it a whirl. So go to boundaries.me and sign up. But specifically, I want to talk to some of you who, if you have anxiety, if you have panic, if you have fears, they can be debilitating. They can shorten your lifespan. They can reduce the span, not the span, the scope of your life. Can keep you from doing things, keep you from performing, keep you from relating well. Anxiety is a horrible disease, if you can call it that, malady. But here's the good news. There's so many good ways to overcome anxiety. And I can tell you, as a clinician, I have seen it a gazillion times when people begin to work on certain issues and they know the path to take and they know kind of the different kinds of anxiety, what's causing it. There's incredible freedom to be gained. Incredible freedom to be gained. And it's so cool to see anxiety lose its grip on people. I've got a friend who she's now, she started dealing with overwhelming kinds of anxiety and panic. Now it's probably been about 4 or 5 months ago, 6 months ago, literally got to where she couldn't leave the house. And we started working on it and she put a plan together and all the things that, I want to share with you. And she was over here the other day. She's back on, she's back at it and thriving. And that's what anxiety does. It limits your life, but you can regain that if there's a path to do that with. Well, all that to say, I'm going to help you with that on December 9th. We're going to have a 2-hour live webinar all about anxiety. I'm going to talk to you about the causes of anxiety, the various kinds of anxiety, but more specifically, the paths, proven paths that people can do to overcome anxiety. And I'm also going to give you, I can't treat you, right, in 2 hours, but I'm going to give you some steps that you can actually go do, as well as outline some of the, for those of you who, want to get further help, kind of how and where to go for that, what kind of people look for. So that's on December 9th. Now, if you can't come on December 9th, still sign up for it. Okay. Still sign up for it. And then you can stream it. If you miss the live part, then it's going to be live later whenever you log in. So you can do it. Okay. So go to boundaries.me/anxiety. Boundaries.me/anxiety to sign up for that. Okay. All right, guys. We will be here tomorrow, same time, and hopefully without as many interruptions. I'm so sorry. But we'll continue on. Okay, let's do it.